Hi, everybody. Sam here. Hope you're having a great day wherever you're at in the world today. I am happy to be talking with Kathy today. Her company name is Your Inspired Books, and she helps Christian authors understand how to write a book in a safe place and where she's able to help them have the information that they need. It doesn't have to be a Christian topic, it can be any topic, but she helps Christian authors get their books written to where they can share their story out with the world. And so I'm really excited today, Kathy, to connect with you and have you share a tip or a thought that you have to share with the community, and also just tell them a little bit more about who you are.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate being on here. So, the tip that I want to share today is about taking a leap of faith and stepping out of your comfort zone. We all have dreams that we hope to see fulfilled. And unfortunately, sometimes those dreams slip away from us. That's happened to me. But that doesn't mean that's the end of it. That just means there's more dreams to come. But to fulfill our dreams, we have to, that requires action. And sometimes that action is to step out of our comfort zone. There's no growth in our comfort zone. If you want growth, you've got to step out. It's scary, but you've got to do it. So, what I'd like to do is put this into a relatable story to make it more real so you can see this play out. In my life, I experienced three different traumatic events, all unrelated, totally different times of my life. And I won't go into them, but I'll just say this, that I've experienced spousal abuse, I've experienced sexual assault, and a whole bunch of other things. And needless to say, those things really affected my life negatively. I ended up with a lot of fear in my life. I had low self esteem, didn't really feel like I had any value. And then on top of that, as a child, I was shy, and those things just compacted it immensely. It was really terrible. Like, doing this would have been absolutely out of the question. And it also made it really difficult for me to find my fit, so to speak, in life. I never really knew what I wanted to do ever, like even as a kid. And that always bothered me. And even if I thought of something in my later years, I would say, no, I can't do that, because I'm too shy to do that. So I went through all until my late 50s until God revealed this to me. And what I felt like at that time was he was putting on my heart to write a book about the healing process that he took me through to heal me from all that trauma so that I could share it with everybody in the world and hopefully it would help other people. But at first, I argued with God about it because I'm like, that's way out of my comfort zone. I don't want to do that. And I didn't want to share all that with the world. And I had no clue how to write a book. But as I prayed about it and thought about it, I realized that if God's asking me to do this, He's going to help me do it. And I needed to be obedient to what He was asking me to do. So I hired a coach because I really needed a lot of help. And I studied everything I could about writing and publishing. And I got my book published in 4 months, and I never dreamed I would ever write a book, so I was super excited about it. And much to my surprise, that book turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. It turned out to be more than a book for me. It was a transformation for me. And if nobody had bought my book, it would have been worth it because of how it changed me as a person. After writing my book, that shyness that I suffered all my life was starting to break off. You see, all that awful stuff that I went through, there was only a few people that knew about it. I didn't live in the same state as my family anymore, so they didn't know any of this stuff. I told them just little tiny bits of stuff because obviously they knew I was going through something, but I didn't give them the dirty, deep down stuff. I was too embarrassed to share it. And so it was like I had this little dirty secret, and it felt like I had this like black cloud hanging over my head my whole life. But when I wrote the book and I exposed what the enemy did, it just started to break off. That hold that shyness had on me broke. That's one thing about publishing a book is once you put it out in the world, there's no going back. So after that, I started being asked to speak at some women's events. And I was terrified to do it because haven't built up that confidence yet. But I did it. I did it scared because I really needed to get the message out, of healing, that God can heal from trauma. And then I got approached by a guy to coach one of his groups for him, to teach them to write and publish books. And at first I said, "No way, not doing it. That is not my gig." But thankfully he was persistent, and he said something to me that's always stuck with me. And it was something along the lines of, "You've got a lot of knowledge and you need to share it." And I thought about that and I'm like, wow, he's right, because it would really be selfish of me to keep all this knowledge that I so desperately needed to be able to learn how to write my book. And so eventually I agreed to coach for him. I was scared doing it. I was so nervous when I first did it. I never liked being on camera. Now I don't care, but it was scary. And when I probably fumbled through, but the more I did it, the more I grew. And after a couple years, he shut that business down, and I felt like the Lord wanted me to just keep doing it. So I started my own business, coach authors, and I added publishing services to it. And I never dreamed I would be doing any of this. And just last year, I got to go to Kenya and speak at a couple of women's conferences. And I say all that for this. All of that came out of me writing my book, out of me stepping out of my comfort zone and being obedient to what the Lord was asking me to do. Who'd have thought, right? I never dreamed any of this would come of all of that. I thought I was just writing a book. But because I was willing to take that leap of faith and get out of my comfort zone, healing started to come in for me, doors started to open, and I learned that God had given me the gift of teaching. I never knew that about myself. And my students tell me that all the time, and it just took me a while to believe it, but that's all came out of that. I have a client who stepped out of her comfort zone at the age of 80 and wrote her first book. And now she's about to publish her third book, and she's going to turn 82 in May. So you're never too old to step out of your comfort zone if you're willing to take that risk. But God can do so much with you. See, I thought I had missed the boat in my 50s still, all through life, never knew what I wanted to do. And I just thought that's how my life was going to be. And then God did all of this through me being obedient and writing that book. And now in my 60s, I'm doing something that I really enjoy, and, discovered this gift that I had. It takes perseverance. Things don't always go smoothly. Some days you're going to feel like you want to quit, but don't quit. Don't give up. Hang in there. And it doesn't even mean that a person has to have a business or a ministry or even write a book. Maybe stepping out of your comfort zone is just volunteering in your local community, um, changing lives through service. So it doesn't have to be something big. Maybe it is a business, but whatever it is, I say find joy in the small things first. For me, writing the book was a big thing, but it also really was a small thing in the big scope of things. I was just so happy that I wrote this book, and I thought that's all it was going to be about. I'm just going to write this book and that's it. And so much more came out of that than I ever could have dreamed. So I encourage all of you to take a leap of faith. Step out of your comfort zone. Start with the small things. Find joy in the small things and see where it takes you. And then be ready to take the next step of faith and watch yourself grow. So I hope that's encouraging.
Wow, that was so good. You did so good. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
resonated with so much of what you said. Every time I tell my story, even though I've been healing for 9 years, every time I tell my story, another little piece breaks off. Doesn't
Mhm.
have control over me anymore. And yeah, it's big. And wow, I don't normally get at a loss for words because I didn't know what you were going to share, right? I
Yeah.
knew kind of the idea, but what you're talking about of taking that leap of faith, doing the thing that you know you were called to do. I created Safe Heart Connections right at 8 years ago. and it's changed and grown over the years and went from just in person to now online. Any woman can join us. But I actually have another company. Most people know I own an admin company called Your Admin Ninja. And before I created that, I owned another company, and I decided to close that company because I believed I wasn't supposed to be doing it anymore. And I was single at the time, and I used all my savings to launch the other company. So I had nothing, there was no net. And my dad was like, "Could you just decide what you're going to do first?" And I said, "That's not what God called me to this time." And I closed the company. I did not know what I was doing. I still remember praying, "God, would you please let me get a job at Hobby Lobby?" Do y'all have Hobby Lobbies there?
Yes, yes, I love it.
Dear God, can I get a job at Hobby Lobby? I would have been the worst Hobby Lobby person ever. I love shopping there. I
Yeah.
absolutely would have been awful. And so I had decided that I was closing the publication that I owned in, I guess it was November of 2018. January of 19, I went on a cruise with a group of people from a training program we'd all done. Once a year they do a cruise. And I haven't been able to go on all of them, but I went on this one and I met this guy named Dale Young, Coach Dale. Most
Mhm.
people in my world, if they've heard me talk, they know about Dale. And I got to meet Dale, and I ended up going through one of his coaching processes, and it changed my life
Mm,
because I recognized I was trying to get better at all the things I was never going to be good at.
yeah.
And I learned what I was really good at, how God created me to be. And I created a company based on that. And that's called Your Admin Ninja. And we turned 5 on April 1st.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
so that was a leap of faith for me because I literally didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew that what I was doing, I wasn't supposed to do anymore. And the company wasn't bad. It wasn't that. It's just I knew I wasn't supposed to do it. And it's been an amazing journey to go from that to where I'm at now. My intent of creating Your Admin Ninja was to create it to where it would eventually run without me so that I could focus on Safe Heart Connections. Because Safe Heart Connections was created before Your Admin Ninja.
Okay.
And it's happened now. So my admin company runs about 85% without me. I've got a great leadership team that manages most of the stuff, and I get to focus on Safe Heart Connections, helping women learn to love themselves more, which will help them improve their lives and make connections along the way. The fact that God uses me to do this is still a little bit mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, and I get that totally because when God asked me to write the book, my first response is, I don't know how to write a book, and I don't even like to read books all that much. And I didn't like journaling. I didn't like to write, nothing. I'm like, why would you ask me to write a book of all
You want to know?
people?
I stand with you on that. You know what? When I first started my healing journey, I didn't like women. So the fact that God called me to work with women, I was like, really?
Yeah, he's got a
Yes,
sense of humor, right?
he does. And it's been such a beautiful thing because now
Yeah.
I have some of the best friends and some of the best community and people that I know I can be real with. And I would have missed out on that had I not listened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm so glad we got to chat today.
Yeah, me
And I'll
too.
make sure that everybody has contact information for you
Yeah.
on social media when we share this out. You are in Safe Heart Connections in the community. And so when we post this, when it goes live, if any of the women that are watching in the community want to reach out, they can comment right there or send you a DM. And that way they can just get connected to you.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.